Most people in their 20s want to look successful before they actually are. They buy expensive cars, designer clothes, and things that they can't afford just to show off to people who, to be honest, just don't give a shit. But here's the truth, looking rich is the fastest way to stay broke, and on the flip side, looking poor and living below your means, avoiding materialism, is one of the fastest ways to build real wealth. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly why avoiding materialism in your 20s can set you up to be financially free in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and how small choices like not buying a luxury car or resisting that $800 pair of sneakers can literally make you a millionaire over time. So let's start out with defining materialism. So materialism is the idea that your worth comes from what you own, the car you drive, the shoes you wear, the watch on your wrist. And to be honest, social media has made this a lot worse, especially over the past 5 to 10 years. I feel like it makes younger guys, whether you're 18, 20, 24, just feel like that if you don't have, the latest iPhone, or you're not wearing some designer brand, or you're not driving, some exotic car, you're behind. But the truth is, materialism is a trap. Those things do not bring long-term happiness, and worse, I feel like they drain your financial future. Materialism is basically trading your future freedom for short-term validation from strangers. And you can even think about this yourself. When you see somebody drive by you in a really nice car, how long do you think about that person? Maybe 2 minutes? 5 minutes? I mean, if you're a big car guy, you may think about it for a lot longer, but the point being is that you don't really give those people much attention. In fact, you probably imagine yourself owning that car. You're not actually thinking about the person that owns it. You might actually just picture yourself owning that one day, but the person themselves doesn't really matter as much to you. So let's actually talk about cars and how I believe that is the biggest wealth killer, especially for people in their 20s. I even noticed this myself when I got out of high school, as well as getting out of college, that a lot of people, once they got a decent job, they started immediately going out and buying a new car. Instead of driving like a $5,000 used Honda, they financed a $30,000 truck or BMW or something like that. And that's a $500 to $700 monthly payment. Plus you have higher insurance, plus you have maintenance. Over a 5-year period, that is $40,000 that's just gone. And that is money that could have been invested. If you invested that same $500 a month into the S&P 500, instead of putting it into a depreciating car, in 30 years, you'd have almost $500,000, literally $500,000, which is just a massive difference. But most people trade that away just so they could look good at stoplights or post it online and try to flex on people. And the sad thing is, no one really cares. Kind of like the example I said just a minute ago, is that you don't really think about that person for more than, I don't know, maybe 1 to 2 minutes tops. The people you're trying to impress either don't notice or they're broke themselves, and the wealthy people, they know it's all fake and it's all BS anyways. So cars are definitely a huge trap that a lot of people fall into. And I'm not saying you can't own a nice car eventually, but if you can just be frugal for 5 or 10 years and live within your means and not drive the newest car, but actually avoid a car payment entirely, I mean, you could be investing all that money, which is going to go a long way over time. The next big trap that I see tends to be with clothing. Clothes are another big trap, and don't get me wrong, you definitely want to look presentable. You don't want to look like a bum, but there's a difference between dressing clean and then blowing $300 on shoes or $1,000 on a jacket just because it's a certain brand and has a certain logo. The truth is, you can look good on a budget. A $20 plain black t-shirt can look cleaner and sharper than a $200 designer one, especially if it fits right to you. And what people respect long term isn't the brand you wear, it's the confidence and direction you carry yourself with. And every dollar you don't blow trying to flex on designer brands is another dollar that you can invest into assets that actually make you wealthy. But real quickly, let's actually flip this idea. So why does looking poor actually make you rich? It's pretty simple. It allows you to keep your expenses low and keep your savings rate high. The less money you spend trying to impress people, the more money you can put towards building assets. And like I said a second ago, looking poor doesn't necessarily mean you have to be sloppy or not take care of yourself. It just means that you're not wasting money on things that don't actually build wealth. It means driving the older car, wearing the no logo clothes. Maybe you're living in a smaller apartment for, a short amount of time, or maybe you're living with roommates or living at home with your parents. But while you're doing all these things, you're secretly stacking cash and investments behind the scene. And the crazy part is that while everyone else is flexing their $400 shoes or their new leased car, you'll be the one with $50,000 or maybe even $100,000+ in investments by your late 20s. And that's how real wealth is built. It's built quietly. Now let's actually look at an example here. Let's say you're 22 years old, and instead of financing a car or buying some expensive clothes or going out to eat all the time, let's say that you live below your means and you invest $1,000 a month. That may not sound like a lot because it's $12,000 a year, but it's just avoiding a car payment and basically saying no to materialism. At an average 10% annual return in the stock market, by the time you're 30, you'll nearly barely have invested $150,000. And here's the kicker, is that even if you never invested another dollar after age 30, that 150K would grow to over $1 million by the time you're 55. And that's just from living differently in your 20s and then stopping. And that is the power of delayed gratification. Looking poor now means you can live rich later without any stress. And again, I'm not saying sacrifice everything. I'm not saying you can't have a decent car. I'm just saying, like, you don't have to go buy the $50, $60, $70,000 car, especially not when you're making 60, 70, 80K a year. And by living below your means and investing consistently, this will set you up for a future that is just a lot less stress. You're not stressing about money. You're not stressing about bills. You have quite a bit of money invested that's just growing on its own, whether you decide to keep contributing or not. It's an amazing position to be in, and I think a lot of people should try to get there. And I think one of the hardest parts of all of this is like social pressure. Like, you may have friends that completely roast you for driving an old car. It definitely depends who you surround yourself with, but honestly, most people aren't really paying attention, and even if they are, their opinions won't pay your bills. What pays your bills is having cash saved, investments growing, and the freedom to say yes to opportunities because you're not broke. In fact, you'll probably notice something funny is that the same people who laughed at you for being cheap in your 20s might be asking you for financial advice in your late 20s or even your 30s, so just stay focused on the long game there. And to win this game, you need to change how you measure success. Stop thinking success is the car you drive or the clothing you wear. Start thinking that success is freedom, it's options, and it is peace of mind. The guy who spends his whole paycheck flexing might look rich, but he's stressed every single month. Compared to the guy who lives below his means, he may look average, but he's stacking cash, he's investing, and he's quietly building real wealth and real power there. And if you can shift your mindset from short-term validation to long-term freedom, you'll win. I personally drive almost a 20-year-old car that my grandma gave to me, literally almost a 20-year-old Toyota Camry. It has 100-something thousand miles on it. And yes, I do have no car payment, and I'm 26 years old right now, so I've been driving it for about 4 years, I think since like 2021, so about 4.5 years now. And this has saved me a lot from having to pay a car payment, which I definitely appreciate. And I've always said to even my friends is that I would much rather be a wealthy loser than a poor winner. And what I mean by that is I would rather have somebody walk past me and go, oh, that guy's average, or oh, maybe that guy's struggling, when in reality, I'm doing just fine financially. Like I said, I'm living below my means. I'm investing super consistently. I'm building quite a bit of wealth. I'm investing in real estate. I'm investing into the stock market. I have 3 to 6 months of expenses saved up in case of an emergency happens. I would much rather be that guy than to be somebody who looks very rich, who drives a really nice car, who, like I said before, is extremely stressed because their car payment is $1,000 a month or it's $800 a month. Their insurance is super expensive. They're constantly going out to the club and dropping tons of money on drinks, or they always have to own the nicest clothes. I would much rather be the guy where people look at me and go, oh, he's average, when in reality I'm doing well, than to be the opposite of that, where I look like I'm doing well, but I'm actually struggling a lot. So the main takeaway here is that looking poor now by driving that cheaper car, wearing basic clothes, and avoiding trying to flex and get others' approval. It's not about being cheap. It's about stacking assets while everybody else stacks debt. It's about trading your short-term image for long-term wealth. And if you stay disciplined in your 20s, you'll be very shocked by how far ahead you'll be in your 30s. Remember, it's not about how you look today. It's about the freedom that you'll have tomorrow. So that is why looking poor will make you very rich. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, drop a like down below, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.